Awesome. All right, so quick run through our agenda. We do want to cover an overview of all the officer positions. I know both of you said a little bit of wanting to hear what your position entails in addition to other positions within the chapter executive committee. We will run through some planning tactics for collaboration. You will hear us say the word collaboration many times today. Running through a checklist. Would love to talk through some examples. Like I said, hear from you all in addition to us and what we've seen on our travels on the road and working with chapters through our time as consulting. We will provide a couple tips and ideas for the fall, quick Q&A, and a list of resources. There's so many resources on our website. We are also here as a resource. We would love to talk to you all at any time, so feel free to contact us. All right, so quick overview. The key duties of the officer positions. While I will not be covering every single duty, I think I will be covering the ones that are a little bit more related to potential collaboration ideas. So your chapter president is responsible for overseeing and managing the executive committee, your executive committee meetings, ensuring that everyone is on track with your goals, discussing the goals, and delegating all the important responsibilities that need to be accomplished. They are also there to discuss strategic plans. I'm sure your chapter president has been in contact with you all over the summer of discussing, all right, what are we doing as soon as we get back on campus? They do attend President's Academy, so they do have an opportunity to connect with chapter presidents from our 200 plus chapters. They assist multiple officers with the fundraising for your chapter leadership fund as we have multiple national events coming up, such as this summer, next summer, and throughout the entire year. They can assist other officers in raising chapter leadership funds from your alumni members, family members, anyone that would like to donate. Ultimately, the president wants to ensure that all the officers are on the same page and, like I said, are moving forward with a similar goal in mind. Now, next to your senior vice president is in charge of the recruitment efforts, recruitment plans at the beginning of the term, and any of the year-round goals, year-round initiatives, and just making sure that Delta Sigma Pi on your campus is known and that you are getting your name out there and hopefully getting people interested for the following term. Your senior vice president is also in charge of recruiting faculty members, honorary members to also be initiated within the organization. Next, we have our Vice President of Pledge Education. Once a senior vice president passes on the students, the Vice President of Pledge Education oversees the training, the facilitation of the pledge program. They are assisting the pledges integrate into the chapter and overall being that educator and showing them the way that the chapter runs, the organization runs. So pretty simple job for the Vice President of Pledge Education. Next, Vice President Finance ensures that all the invoices are paid on time within the national organization, in addition to anything that your campus is in charge of. Any requests that have to go through the university or institution, they oversee that. I know we have Vice President of Chapter Operations on this call. Vice President of Chapter Operations is responsible for overseeing all the chapter management, program records, everything that is kind of, we say like the back end of the all the paperwork, ensuring that the chapter president has that support for the strategic planning and anything that any other officer needs assistance with. All right, and to the second side, we have our chancellor that is in charge of managing the chapter meeting. They ensure that documents such as the chapter bylaws, policy procedures are submitted on time, and ensuring that ritual is being followed during any time that ritual is necessary. Vice President Professional Activities pretty much comes with the name, oversee any professional activities and development that is conducted by your chapter. They also plan and execute, or plan and ensure that you have a presenter for the diversity event and complete the action plan. Vice President Community Service, again, community service, any initiatives in that regard, they connect with any committee chairs to also participate in national initiatives. We have all those resources on our website. So if you're unsure what our national initiative is, we do have those resources on dsp.org. Next, Vice President Scholarship and Awards. Not going to say that it's my favorite, but it is one of my favorite. I did hold it a couple of times as a collegiate member. You oversee any scholarship that your institution provides. If there's one specifically for your chapter, you ensure that brothers are aware of any opportunities within the organization, any of the funds provided by our Leadership Foundation, and the awards part, your chapter awards at the end of the academic year, you ensure that all of those are submitted. And you also are able to be a little bit creative and provide awards to your chapter members throughout the term. Lastly, we have the Vice President of Alumni Relations, which oversee any development with your alumni members from your chapter, and any outreach to alumni members across the country. With over 200 chapters, we do have a lot of alumni members and a lot of connections, whether, we're initiated in one specific campus, but then we move somewhere else. If you'd like to see a little bit more of the official duties, they are located on your chapter bylaws. So just ask your chapter chancellor, hey, I'd like to see our document. Can you share it with me? Your most recently approved document is also located on the dashboard on the hub. Or if you want to look at the national documents, those duties are also listed there. So I will be passing this on to Alicia to discuss a little bit more about our planning tactics.
Awesome. Just a little head note, I was UPIR, so I was a little soft spot for the position. So it's really fun. But awesome. So when looking for resources and tactics that you can use when collaborating, I always ask the big question, what do I want to achieve? Who has the best resources or the most experience for what I want to achieve, or even whose position and responsibilities best fit for what I'm looking for. So I think that's very important when considering who you want to collaborate with. And look at some of the examples here. There are a lot of people that you can talk to. Within the fraternity, you have people such as your exec partners and brothers, chapters in your region, province, around the country. See right now, two people, opposite ends. And not just within the fraternity, but also outside fraternity, there's clubs and organizations on your campuses. The College of Business, faculty staff are there to help you. And organizations within your community are also a good resource to utilize when you're considering who you want to collaborate with for events. So when you're trying to collaborate, don't be afraid to go outside your normal circle. You have countless connections that are out there and ready to work with. I think collaboration is a really good way of sharing knowledge and resources with each other. And now that you're in an officer position, you have more opportunities to meet with people and have them collaborate with you on ideas that you have. And so just overall, just don't be afraid to reach out and ask, because some really cool events can come from collaborating with people you never expected. And this is going to be a little short slide, but just always reach out and ask, because outside of fraternity, I'm also a part of a sorority, and we were super small, 4 people in the chapter. And so I understand that utilizing having many positions and having to take over a lot of roles. And so reaching out with my organizations and stuff like that within the community like FSL and stuff like that, they really helped the shortcomings of making an event and getting our name out there in organization. So use what you have on campus or in community, or even your friends and stuff like that. I think that's a very key note to utilize. But now that you have the basis set on resources and opportunities you have in collaborating, I think we can look at the aspects that you can consider when starting collaborate. Your planning checklist. That is a good thing to utilize. This list is to help guide you for when you start collaborating with officers, just so you aren't off to a rocky point and you're making sure all the important steps are good to go. It's not in a set order, it's just ideas that can help you become more organized. So to start off, set your clear goals and outcomes, get everyone on the same page. Focus on creating a unified thought of what do you want to achieve or how do you want to achieve it and when do you want to achieve it by. Another one is define the roles and responsibilities. You should establish who is going to do what and make sure everyone has an even amount of work. This will prevent people from having more tasks than others and also clarify your expectations for everyone and also yourself. Next is establishing a safe space for sharing knowledge. When you are working with a team, you are bound to encounter people with different opinions and ideas. So just keep in mind how you're taking people's opinions and making sure that you're giving them a space where they're comfortable sharing their ideas. Next, set milestones for guiding points. If this is a project is on a bigger spectrum or on a longer period of time, set goals within your projects to make sure everyone's staying on the track and to keep the communication flowing when you're moving on to the next stage. It's really important also for communication to choose a specific communication method and channel. There's GroupMe, Microsoft Teams, Basecamp, GoToMeeting, or even just email. Snapchat, if you must. Just try keeping your conversations and planning in one location. Will really help you keep things consistent because if you have different group chats and platforms where you're working on the same project, there may be room for miscommunication or someone might miss a message and that could just set the entire group back and stuff like that. And just lastly, figure out your meeting dates in advance. Try to figure out when and how you guys would like to meet for the duration of the project. You don't have to meet a lot of times, but just having a single meeting could help everyone stay on track and have something to prepare for. And I would just consider using checkpoints for when you do start so that you can start on a well-organized note and you are setting expectations for everyone to use and like utilize for the project and collaboration. So everything's smoothly and there's like no bumps in the road at all. I did that kind of fast, but if I don't open the floor up to you guys, if any examples that you might have on collaborating with events or any ideas that you've had in the past that you want to share with us that everybody could use for the future. So feel free to unmute, raise your hand, and really share your stories if you have any. Okay. Well, let's go popcorn. I think Jasmine, you've had a couple experiences with DSP, so you have any examples you want to share with us?
Absolutely. I can always think about a couple of chapters trying to be a little bit creative of working with one another. And the easiest one is you have your professional activity, your VPPA that is planning a professional event. Well, if you're working with your vice president of alumni relations and having a alumni presenter present your professional event. One of the things that Sarah and I were talking about is you have your expectation within CMP of presenting or having a presentation on the Leadership Foundation. Again, you could work with your vice president of alumni relations, professional activities, have a national representative of the Leadership Foundation present on the Leadership Foundation. You get a professional event, an alumni speaker, you cover the Leadership Foundation, and maybe you're able to fundraise a little bit for your chapter leadership fund, all in one event. So I think the main recommendation is review your goals, kind of what Leisha was saying, review your goals and how can you best assist one another as you're trying to plan everything, right? Think about the outcome that you want from your members. You want the whole chapter to be involved, engaged, and not saying we have 30 events during the term, but we're going to have 15 quality events that we're going to be adding value to the chapter. And I'll popcorn it to Sarah.
All right. I think Jasmine definitely hit the nail on the head. Just for preference, I was really big into community service in my chapter, and we were also really small. So one of my favorite collaboration ideas that I've seen other chapters utilize is having a service event, but then taking advantage of kind of like those additional requirements that Jasmine was noting. So for service, it's participation in a national service initiative, or maybe even co-sponsoring with another organization on campus. Something as simple as that can get you extra points towards CMP, right? And you're not doing necessarily anything more, but you're using an event and making it a quality event to, bring in different people, collaborate, even network your chapter. And I totally get how overwhelming it could be to feel like maybe there's only so few of us and there's still just this monumental things we need to do. So again, really using your resources and using that alumni base and having them come in and talk, or maybe use their resources like, hey, I know a brother maybe that works at this company, or hey, I know a brother out of state that maybe they can't come and be in New Mexico, but they would be happy to Zoom in, right? Kind of, the world we live in, digital, media, and coming and hopping on a Zoom meeting is more, trendy and more normal than it was before. And again, we have Delta SIGs everywhere. So really just simply sending a message saying, hey, would you want to come in and talk? And, maybe we can recognize you, do this, do that, really makes it a quality event and maybe less of a burden on the chapter to feel like they have to do all of these things and recreate the wheel. Really just use what's in front of you. But that's my ideas. Leisha, I'm going to popcorn it back to you to wrap up.
All right, wrapping up. I just it's like my first almost like month anniversary here, so I'm not don't have much experience outside of university. But when I was in university, I think my favorite event that I put on that kind of hit a lot of ball points was when I was a VPAR, favorite position. It's when I was collaborating with my VP professional activities, and we did a lovely alumni, a mock interview event with alumni, faculty members, and other staff members all over the university. And basically, we had them come in and just do a practice interview for brothers, and that just really people enjoyed it a lot. And it's had alumni, professional activity aspect to it. It gave connection to staff members outside just the business school, and that was a really good relationship we had moving forward. And so we still to this day, well, not me anymore, but my chapter still to this day still talks to the staff members there because it was such a great event. And so those out of the box events are really set eyes to our fraternity and stuff like that. And so I think using those kind of events and think outside the box was what was most effective for us. But yeah, going to
Leisha, if you don't mind, I also want to add utilizing what is already on the calendar: homecoming week, alumni weekend, national ritual week, month of, and utilizing that to kind of build the excitement and adding those items to the calendar ahead of time. You already know that that's going to be celebrated. You know that your alumni members are going to be there. You know that X week is orientation, so that you're going to be able to recruit. Think about all those things that are already being held by your institution, by your college, school of business, and utilize that to your advantage.
Alrighty, well, now that you've heard some ideas from us, I'm going to kind of go over some collaboration tips, different ways to help organize yourselves, kind of what Jasmine was even touching on, just to make sure that it's not a burden to collaborate with other people, because sometimes it can be a trend to just do your own thing and be in your own world, whether you're VPAR, whether you're community service, and feel like, okay, I need to hyper focus on my tasks and completely disregard everything else going on around me. But actually, collaborating is not a bad thing. And just from our few examples, it really can come to benefit the chapter, especially if CMP is worrying you and you're like, I don't know if we're going to be an accredited chapter or beyond that. And I'm worried, maybe we're small in numbers, maybe we won't have a good recruitment. Those thoughts start to trickle into your head. So that's when collaboration is really going to become key here with all different groups of people. So, a couple basic tips is going to be have a set date, time, and location in mind for specific events. Like Jasmine was saying, if homecoming's going on and maybe your school does a tailgate, or if there's a certain holiday around the corner and your school does something in particular, or you see that the FSL office or student activities are putting on a grand event, reach out to those people and say, hey, could Delta Sigma Pi help co-sponsor or collaborate with you all? Or do you all need anything? And can we get our name in the door here? Or, okay, we want to have this event and we see that another organization is having a similar event, in conjunction with us. Maybe have that collaboration saying, hey, let's make this one large event so people don't have to decide if I have to go to that event or Delta Sigma Pi's event. So again, being intentional with when you're having, your events and the times, the locations, where are students on campus and what times are they normally there? I know for me, I was at a commuter school, and after 5 o'clock, if no one was in a night class, you best believe they were gone for the day. So again, we took that stuff into account when we would have our recruiting events, our, events that we wanted to open up campus wide. You all are going to know your campus best, whether it's community driven or residential driven, is really kind of up to debate, depending on the campus. But then the next point is going to be specific when discussing expectations. And that just goes for within yourselves, but then of other people. If you're putting on a lot of weight on other people, you may not get a good return on investment on, collaborating if they're doing most of the work and you're relying solely on them. Again, setting expectations within yourselves as an exec is going to be key to having a successful year. What can I handle? What does my workload look like? How much can I handle? A great example is VP of chapter operations. Oftentimes on visits, we see those officers doing everything and some. They feel like because they are the chapter operations person, they need to dip into everything and do everything. And that's overwhelming, and that's not fun for anybody involved. So again, just discussing like, hey, I'm a resource. I'm always here to help you. Obviously planning ahead is going to be key for us, but let's set some expectations of, okay, what's your responsibility and where do I fit into that? So I think having that conversation as an exec right before your term starts is going to be a really good and valuable conversation. Another point, if you're working with alumni, confirm in advance. Can't emphasize this enough. Alumni are busy people, just, based on knowledge of being a collegiate, but then also seeing other chapters try to interact with their alumni members. Alumni have work. Maybe they are no longer in the area, and especially kind of get my example from before, if they're out of state and they're zooming in, be mindful of time zones too. That's a big thing. If someone's on the Eastern time zone and you're on the Pacific or Mountain time zone, that's a difference, right? So being cognizant of all of those things and working effectively with them. Having multiple reach outs, confirming things with them, and being communicative on your end is only going to help things run smoothly. Again, if you need more tips on that, feel free to ask at the end of this. We'd be happy to go more into that. But again, just communicate, I think, is going to be the overarching theme of tonight's webinar. And then we're going to go into collaboration ideas for the fall. Just some ideas that we've seen, and I'm actually going to invite Talisha from what she's seen from her collegiate chapter, as well as Jasmine from what she's seen, doing visits to, chime into this. But to start off with recruitment events, some ways that we've seen chapters collaborate together. I can definitely start off by saying I've seen a chapter, obviously go to the normal organization fair and participate, pass out flyers, do all that stuff, but then go the extra mile, and they invited everybody in the chapter, along with all their organizations on campus, to take part in a kickball game. And from there, the entry fee wasn't money or anything, it was a canned good. So they utilized it as a community service event, but then they got all the organizations together, people from all over the place came and watched, rooted for their respective groups or whatever. And not only was it a great service event, but it also, gave them a great turnout and a lot of exposure. So from there, they had names trickling in like, hey, I saw you at the kickball game. I really would love to know more about DSP. And again, I think with recruitment, the biggest thing is going to be dipping into every little part of what your chapter is and what you want it to be. Yes, we are a professional business organization, but what else are we? Do we do service events? Yes. Do we do fundraisers? Yes. Do we have alumni come in? Absolutely. If you can incorporate all of those things into your recruitment timeframe, that really gives people a good taste of, okay, Delta Sigma Pi is professional, but they do so much more. Those are some of the ideas that I've seen. Ladies, anything else to add?
Yes, exactly what Sarah said. You should be showcasing what your chapter does. One cool idea I saw a campus that had multiple business organizations is collaborating and working with them hand in hand so that the students that are on that campus are able to find in a way their home, right? You have 4 business fraternities, you are all there, you discuss what is a professional fraternity. You'd be surprised how many times, I mean, I could personally say I went into college not knowing that there were professional fraternities. So learning a little bit of what's the difference, what are some of the similarities, what are the expectations, and then being able to meet and greet multiple organizations. So one that opens up the, hey, we're here networking with one another, but we're able to provide that space for the students that are looking into wanting to join. So I always thought that was one of my favorite recruitment events.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. But yeah, just touching on what they said, recruitment events, I think for my chapter, we had a bunch of traditional things we did. I think my favorite so far was definitely our classroom visits. It was a collaboration with their faculty brothers, but also like all the faculty staff in the College of Business, basically just you letting a brother sign up for a business class you already have, and then reaching out to the teacher and be like, hey, or professor, sorry, like, hey, can my brother speak to your class for like 5 minutes at the beginning of class and just like promote Delta Sigma Pi and like our chapter and recruiting events are starting. And especially the faculty brothers, they always said yes. And then even during class, he said, yeah, guys, definitely join Delta Sigma Pi, the best, look at me here, and stuff like that. So that was definitely one of our most successful events because a lot of people came by and saying, yeah, I saw you in class and like you gave that big speech and like the benefits of joining and like all the things that's helped you since you've joined DSP. And so that was one of my favorite events. And also like we've done collaborations with our own like mini business organizations within the school because we have like accounting majors or accounting organizations at the business school, and they done tutoring with DSP, like just tutoring accounting for tests and stuff like that. And that has also gotten a lot of outreach to other majors who don't really know about us and stuff like that. And yeah, that's my recruitment events and stuff.
So some ideas for you all. As you all can probably tell, we're going to go through all these. Feel free to chime in and ask questions if there's one on this list that you really would love. So many ideas because we probably have them. But just for time's sake, we'll do a few. And then if you love more, let us know. But going on to fundraising, I would say one of the most notable fundraisers I saw, obviously the profit shares are very big on college campuses. And, that's kind of the elephant in the room, right? Everyone wants to do a profit share. Those are great if you can get other people to go to them. So what I would recommend to you all is, okay, if you want to do a profit share, you have maybe a local restaurant, a chain restaurant that offers it, do a lot of marketing around that event. Make sure that, hey, okay, maybe someone in the chapter is going, but have 2 of their friends, join along and go too, because how those things work is only a percentage goes back to the chapter. So if, 20 members of your chapter go and support, maybe only a percentage of that, 30% of that is actually going to come back to the chapter. So making sure you have external people coming into that, inviting your faculty brothers, just alumni in general, your friends, your family, if you're local, to come and join those types of events. But a really notable fundraiser I saw that wasn't a profit share, it was actually kind of fun. A chapter did a carnival. They got just everything assigned, they were really organized with it, and they got it approved by their student activities, and they offered different organizations to come in and essentially have it as a recruitment opportunity, but also have them bring a game that they could do. And then from there they sold tickets, they did everything, and they actually had some faculty come on in and donate their time. I think even the dean joined in, if I remember correctly, and they did pieing of the face for the dean. So again, a great fundraiser, for people to get a good laugh, but then also raise some funds. So, fundraising doesn't have to be this grueling thing. going door to door selling chocolates. It doesn't have to be that. Whatever you all find profitable and maybe what people are into on your campus, capitalize on that and fundraise and try it out. Again, anything that you can spend a little less money on to get more money from is always the greatest equation when it comes to fundraising. Because again, if you're putting in so much money only to get maybe some of that back and maybe even just break even, it's not really worth it, not worth your time. But again, Carnival I think was my favorite fundraising event. Jasmine, Leisha, anything over there?
Yeah, I was kind of trying to think about an event that I had heard of that definitely collaborated with many people, officers, different people on campus. So this fundraiser was a networking type of event with a catered meal. This chapter had a keynote speaker, and each brother of the chapter, so they got every single person involved, had to sell at least, I think it was like 3 tickets. They had to sell either to a student on campus, an alumni member, or a faculty. So at the end of it, if they had 50 members and each brought 3, it's a 150 person event. So they invited their faculty, like I said, their chapter advisor, district director, RVP, their dean ended up attending this event, campus officials, whether it's student activities, they will want to support an event held if it's held in your student union. They ended up having a raffle. I will say any raffle, any type of fundraiser like that is specific per state. So I'm not going to say, yes, do this or don't do that. There's specific laws at each state. And then they also worked with their vice president community service to have a clothes drive. So everybody showed up in professional dress. If it was in spring, it's like, hey, spring cleaning. Don't forget to bring in your suits, your ties, anything that you are willing to donate, whether it's to the professional dress closet on your campus or to an organization that is in need of professional dress or like jackets, things like that. And the vice president of scholarship and awards provided awards to the brother that, was the outstanding brother, professor of the year, if they wanted to recognize anyone that supported them, if they had a faculty or honorary initiate, maybe they initiated that keynote speaker, and that's why they're able to then present to them. And then discuss a little bit about the organization. We do have our scholarship key recipient, which goes to the outstanding graduating senior with the highest GPA, Delta Sigma or not, so they could invite them to the event. And some recognition to the chapter, your chapter collegian of the year that you voted on, and maybe they got to a different level. Yeah, there's a lot of things that could be incorporated, and I saw these things. I'm like, wow, like that's pretty impressive.
I'm not good with money, so I kind of stayed away from that department mostly. But I think one thing about my chapter was that we utilized those big events or the weather at all kind of events. So like when we had spring weekend, it would be like dead hot, sun beaming down. So like we would sell like, nice little fruit punches and stuff like that. And like depending on what your university policies are and stuff like that, and especially what you're selling, like you can make a big profit off of that from what we saw. And also we use reusable items, like stuff that would never go out of season. So one semester we made scrunchies and sold like butterflies, but we also had extra, and like at our mini fundraising events, we sold those at for like little like keepsakes and stuff like that, and people love them. So like we just kept in mind, keeping things that are in style and also utilizing our environment and where we are, and to get the most profit out of those.
Awesome. Thank you all for your thoughts. For the next 2, I'm going to kind of combine them both because they both are in the same realm, right? Community service, professional activities, to each their own, create those types of events. That's their sole focus, as Jasmine was saying earlier. So again, some good collaboration is number 1, don't recreate the wheel. There are more likely than not community service events happening around your community or on your campus, especially if it's around Make a Difference Day or other, heritage months, celebration months. More likely than not, there's going to be an event detailed oriented towards that. So be mindful of those things. I highly recommend doing just a simple, Google search of even, okay, our school's in this zip code. What nonprofits or what things are near us? Acquaint yourself if you don't know. Hey, there's a food bank down the street, or hey, there's this and this, and look further into that. I know when I was community service, that was a huge thing I did. I didn't live near my school, so I had to do that research and find out what was available to me. Um, an example of a community service event that I saw that really stood out to me was something called a stop and serve, where they had a table set up in a really populated area on campus. And it was definitely designated towards the commuter student that doesn't have a lot of time, maybe 5 minutes at that, where they could stop at the table. Someone would be there, telling them what they needed to do, but they were stuffing hygiene kits for refugees in this particular case. And they could put together a few kits, faculty passing by, students, whoever, and they could contribute towards the greater good, but not necessarily sign on to an hour-long event or have to go off-site somewhere. So it was a really unique and helpful event for them. And it was, in the end of the day, they had a lot of kits made, from various amounts of people. So that was a really successful event that I saw. And then going into professional, again, seeking out different resources on campus, your multicultural student center, your student activities, your FSL, maybe even your dean's office. They probably know some pretty powerful people that could come in and talk to your chapter. But probably the most notable professional event I've ever seen was a women's leadership forum, where they brought different women from all different backgrounds and brought them all together, whether they were in business or not, maybe still in school, old, young, everything, every different type of criteria, and had this really informative and raw panel just on their experiences, their hardships, how they overcame them. And it was a great Q&A, facilitated very well. And something as simple as that can be very impactful and memorable to people. So those are my two. If anyone wants to chime in there for either community service or professional, go for it.
I don't have much for community service. I think Sarah really had some good examples there, but for professional event, oh man, I think one of the favorite programs that I put on was a LinkedIn program, and basically it just outreach to so many chapters, national members and stuff like that, just basically asking, hey, can I connect with you? And I set up a list for brothers to just, find out who they want to connect with. So for Kappa Nu, I organized all the alumni by concentration, so like marketing, accounting, stuff like that. And then on the other side, I set like the national. So Trisha Smith, the past grand president, she was so nice. She said yes, so I added her to the list. But I wanted the professional bit to be up. Well, it was a collaboration with VP professional activities, but I wanted them to get the practice of reaching out to people on LinkedIn and getting that like experience, saying, hey, getting like that note saying, hey, I'm a brother, I want to reach out to you. I'm also Delta Sig and stuff like that, just so they can get that practice. So for like national events, GCC and LEAD, they'll have that like that kind of like foot going forward and saying, hey, I checked on LinkedIn, so let's just chat some more now. So that was like one of my favorite.
I would also say, reaching beyond even your chapter officers, there are additional brothers of the chapter that have those connections that could assist with professional events, that could assist with community service ideas. It could be anything like that of, hey, like I'm gonna ask my supervisor that I had for my internship. I think they would be a really good resource to the chapter. So that type of collaboration with those type of events would be beneficial too.
Awesome. And just to wrap those up, like definitely don't recreate the wheel, but also think outside the box at the same time. You don't have to always have a speaker or always do a food can drive to make an impact, right? Those types of things really is going to be detail oriented to your campus. So take advantage of different opportunities that are happening, but also don't be afraid to try something new. Maybe do a how-to event, how to work a room and how to show up at a job fair and not look scared and terrified to talk to future employers, right? That's an idea. Or an etiquette dinner, learning the importance of business etiquette. These are things that we learn in school, but making it a practical event for anyone to join in. and essentially universal, right? For no matter what you're doing, business or not, this will be beneficial for you. But then moving on, I'm going to do just these next two kind of fairly quickly just to go through them because there's not really a ton of ideas, but just to throw them out to you for LEAD and just really any national event. There are absolutely collaboration opportunities there. Number one, national events, regional events, all of those things are going to be hotspots for new alumni that you may have never met, as well as Delta Sig leadership from across the country. So again, we have a Grand Chapter Congress coming up, which I hope both of your chapters are going and representing, but that's a great opportunity for not only you all to network with different alumni that are going to be there, but then also kind of put things on the calendar like, hey, I would really love for you to come talk to our chapter and hop on a Zoom with us, do this, do that. Starting those collaborations early and making those relationships and keep fostering them because those people are going to want to continue to come back and help you. I've also seen during the LEAD provincial conferences, entire provinces or regions do a service event. I know out west, I want to say it was Pacific Coast, but I might have gotten that wrong. They did something for the American Cancer Society where they raised money and did something along the nature of that and donated a bunch of money to the organization and all came together and did that. So again, different opportunities. Number one, to network with different chapters that you may have never even met in your region, but then also do something towards a greater good or make that connection and maybe have that professional event later on. That's really LEAD, just a great networking opportunity and collaboration hotspot. But then going on to policy and bylaw submissions, in theory, it should be one of the first things that you all submit as a chapter. Again, there's a suggested deadline of October 1st for bylaws and policies, which is pretty early on in the term. And the reason for that being is you all should be practicing what you preach, and that is your bylaws and policies. So coming together as an exec and even opening it up to the chapter to get feedback on, okay, let's go through this thing and see what we do and what we don't do. If there are things in that document that you come to find that, hey, we've never done this before, maybe you should update it and actually put in things that you are doing. Set goals for yourselves, because again, the whole idea behind this document, or these documents rather, is that anyone could pick it up. I could pick it up and say, I've never stepped foot in the Epsilon Upsilon chapter, but this is how it's supposed to be ran. So something to think about with those things. Again, collaboration is going to be key because so many people in a chapter, lots of thoughts, but getting them down on paper is going to take some time. And hopefully your chancellor can help facilitate that conversation a little bit more when the time comes. But then the last bullet point here, Founders Day and chapter anniversary. Hopefully you all know when Founders Day is. And if you don't know when your chapter anniversary is, you can check that out on the dashboard. Again, celebrating milestones that you all hit and recognizing those things like, hey, this is a good opportunity to bring alumni together, or hey, this is something we can do in honor of us and create buzz. Like maybe we have a cake, but we do a professional event alongside it, or a service event. We invite alumni. And again, kind of what Jasmine was saying earlier, create those opportunities for us to fulfill multiple things that we're already being asked to do, but in a more formalized format. I do want to open it up to things that Jasmine and Talisha have heard for Founders Day and chapter anniversary. But just to start off, I feel like the coolest thing I saw was I was on a visit actually on Founders Day with a chapter, and they had this DSP Jeopardy. They had a whole catered food buffet, but then they just brought different alumni members back. They reminisced. It was just a really wholesome and wonderful event. They had a professional speaker come in. It was really a grand event that kind of had a start and end and a lot of scheduling in between that. So they were able to fulfill a lot of requirements and do a lot of cool things, just celebrating their chapter anniversary and Founders Day. That was a cool thing I saw. Anyone else want to add on to that?
Yeah, I recently attended a chapter's 30th chapter anniversary, and you're like, 30, that's not the 25, the 50, the 100, where a lot of our chapters are hitting that 100th year milestone, which is amazing. But this chapter held a banquet networking night. They invited their founding members, this chapter unfortunately lost their charter, which the charter includes all the names of those students that created the chapter. And they presented a new charter and found a new location for it in their College of Business. They did a fundraiser, they had raffles, again with the raffles, but it was just an awesome opportunity to connect with the current chapter members, the brothers that were initiated 30 years ago, and a lot of leadership from across the country. Like, it was in Colorado and I flew from Ohio. Like, there were people from California. And it was a great opportunity just to see the growth of a chapter for the 30th chapter anniversary. So either Epsilon, Upsilon, Beta Xi, you're about to hit some of those milestones. And I think that's a great opportunity to take advantage and celebrate where you're at and celebrate what you have accomplished over the many years that your chapter has been around.
It is grand. My chapter did not do anything that grand. We were more on the lax side when it came to Founders Day and chapter anniversary, just because we wanted to spend time together and stuff like that as a unity. I think our favorite was the chapter anniversary, and we kind of celebrated the alumni that day, because without them, we would not have been there. We probably would not be in DSP without them. So we kind of pay respect to all people before us. And so on chapter anniversary, April 12th, we would have our alumni award, and just nominate alumni who's been very active for the chapter, and then just send a nice little gift card, Amazon gift card, a nice note, and saying thank you for still being active even after leaving the chapter and stuff like that. For Founders Day, we focus more on the roses. I love the roses. We always gave a rose to each brother, and have it a random brother just give them out to everybody. And I got assigned to it one day. It was so fun. I was chasing people down saying, "Come get your rose." And so it was one of my favorite things. But we were more on the laxative side. But I have heard from chapters in Virginia, Richmond, because I'm from Virginia. So they had these grand ball events and stuff like that. And I'm yeah, have fun.
That's a really great point. Yeah, some people go all out for their celebrations, and you can too with good planning. I think that's the overarching theme again of this webinar: is collaborating and planning is not something to be feared, but something to be done. Again, just to kind of wrap up this section before we conclude, again, we don't expect you to have the one size fits all connection with alumni or faculty, staff, anything. Please know that the four of us on this screen can be utilized as a resource. We are here to help serve you best. Do you need a name of an alumni member? Do you need a connection? Maybe someone to help you get started? We do that day in and day out, and we'd be happy to help you. On the next slide here, we do have all of our contact information. It's simply our first names at dsp.org. Please reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you. We have people reach out to us all the time saying, "Hey, I don't really know the alumni from my chapter. Where can I find that?" We would love to, rekindle those relationships. Fantastic. Let's get you started. Or maybe point you in the right direction of maybe some people you'd like to make a connection with based on a certain area. I know in my chapter, we were mostly accounting and marketing majors, and maybe a few finance sprinkled in. We really wanted to find and attract those people that would interest our members. So of course, reach out to us. Maybe we know someone in accounting. We've met people on the road consistently. We'd be always happy to help you. But I did want to take the opportunity, since we've done a lot of talking, to open it up to either of you ladies for any questions that you may have. Anything.
Do you have ideas for ways to recruit faculty? That's one thing that we're having trouble with now, because most of ours retired during the pandemic.
I can start off on this one. I actually love talking about this topic. It's funny you mentioned that. Obviously, the first thing I would recommend is build a relationship. You can't really sell something to someone if they've never tried it or if they don't know about it, right? That there's a comfortability aspect that needs to be met when recruiting faculty members. So get to know them. Say, "Hey, my name's Kristen. I'm a part of this chapter. You may or may not have known me. I may or may not have had class with you. You can fill in the blanks there. But, I had accounting 101 with you. And while that was last term, I did want to just, reconnect with you and let you know about, hey, I'm a part of this organization in the College of Business. And this is what we do. Mark it out, kind of have that elevator pitch in your head of this is some of the things that we do. We have these professional events. We just did the largest service event on campus, whatever your accomplishments are. And from there, keep, filtering that relationship, right? Maybe faculty appreciation week, you all write notes to them saying, we're thankful for you, this type of stuff and whatnot. And once you feel like you have a better rapport with them, if there's someone you don't know, you can feel free to approach them saying, hey, this is an opportunity I want to present to you. We've been chatting for a while and I think you'd be a great fit to the chapter, and here's why. Tell them why they would be a good fit to your chapter. Because if you simply ask, hey, can you be a part of my chapter? They automatically think, how much does it cost? And it's more work for me. But simply lay it out to them. To be a faculty initiate, in theory, we cover everything for you. We get your badge, initiation fee, everything. It's our honor to have you on our chapter roster, right? Start off with that. And then go into, hey, you can associate with this organization. You would be a member of this organization and be entitled to all the benefits that we are, and lay those out to them and really explain why you would want them to be a part of it. I think if you can cover those 3 areas when approaching someone to be a faculty initiate, you're going to have a better chance of succeeding and having them want to initiate, because they'll just see more benefits than necessarily work added onto their plate. But I'd love to hear Jasmine and Talicia's thoughts as well.
Oh man, well, for me, I think a big point that we made when doing faculty initiate is just, display what you are. So having those great business school events within the business school and showing, hey, we're a business fraternity, we're professional students, we are worth joining and stuff like that. And then also, I think another thing that we did for our faculty members was who are initiated was writing a thank you card every week once they got nominated and awarded as faculty member of the faculty brother of the week, and sending it to faculty brothers. And so people who aren't in it can see all the faculty brothers getting these cute little cards and saying, yeah, my child just gave you a cute card, we won, and stuff like that. And just showing that appreciation, because you can get them to join, but if that's it, and that's if that's it after they join, that's no kind of relationship afterwards, then I think that'll kind of do them away. So just keeping that relationship going and showing appreciation as much as you can really motivate people who are not in to join and stuff like that.
I also think utilizing everyone in the chapter to individually recruit. If there's a brother that has a really good connection with the information systems or the accounting professor, having them also be that person for the chapter, of explaining what the perks, the benefit, and what we're able to provide them. At the same time, how are they able to assist us? Because I know there's a lot of faculty that are, yes, what do you all need? How can I help? If there's student organizations that I'm able to assist, I want to assist them.
And just to close that off, something I know we all reference, but I do want you all to know as well, is when it comes to faculty recruits, a lot of people think, oh, okay, professors, but it actually can be other people as well. If you have a custodian that helps you all out, or a staff member that maybe opens the doors for you every chapter meeting, or unlocks something for you, your dean even can be a faculty initiate. And we have had chapters with their dean as a faculty initiate. You're just one question away from getting a good answer, or maybe an answer that needs more progress, right? Filtering those relationships and helping the chapter grow its communications, because faculty are a great investment to the chapter, because they're the one consistent thing, even after 4 years and all these freshmen and seniors leaving and coming in, they're going to stay consistent with the chapter, but then they're also going to be a great opportunity of exposure as well as recruitment opportunities. They can help refer some members to you, hey, I've had so-and-so in class, here's their email, reach out to them. They are a stellar student, they'd be great for the chapter, especially if you're small in numbers and you can get all the help you can get.
Yeah, do you want to add something really quick? I just remembered, as Sarah said, that there's a chapter that provided a thank you gift, which ended up being a recruitment shirt that looked exactly like Talicia's shirt. It was a polo with our coat of arms on it. They gave it to one of their faculty initiates, which worked in academic advising. He wore that polo every single Friday. Imagine how many students saw that advisor with a polo, like that's free advertisement right then and there.
Kristen, a great question. Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions for us? Any?
I guess I can ask one. It's more of a general question, but especially considering that we're both from smaller chapters, how do you recommend like doing the most with sometimes if you don't have the most resources?
So for resources, I just want to clarify, do you mean like campus resources? Do you mean our types of resources, like what DSP has? I just want to make sure I'm answering your question to the best.
I guess kind of in a general sense, I know of a good amount of the DSP resources and things we use, but in a sense of like, even with the, particularly at the college level, things like number of members to contribute to things, sometimes financial resources, depending on the situation. And even just a lot of times in general on our campus, engagement is low all across the board after COVID. So even just in a general sense, I guess, if that helps at all.
No, absolutely, it does. And it can sometimes seem like a big bite to chew off at first. But I think in that case, so my school is very similar, low engagement when I left and everything. And, Greek life wasn't really a big thing, right? So there wasn't a lot of resources for us. So we kind of thought outside the box. We started collaborating with other chapters first. That was our first reach out. Okay, let's recognize who's in Great Lakes region and reach out to them and see what they're doing. Can they help us? Do they have someone who could help us? The next step was our leadership with us, our district directors, now assistant district directors, regional vice presidents. Those individuals are in their offices simply to serve you and help you. They volunteer to do this for you. So because of that, they're going to have resources. Maybe they met during their collegiate time or who they've met during their paths to being officers for this fraternity on, hey, they can come provide a resource to you. Hey, I have a bunch of alumni who are looking for a Founders Day challenge to contribute to. They can throw you a few bucks. Again, something we always say is just ask. So that's just like fraternity things I think of, but then outside the box, for just general, I would say, just try to reach out to an FSL student activities office, see what they have to say. If they disregard you, or if they're just not really doing a whole bunch of stuff and they're trying to figure things out with their low engagement things going campus wide, maybe seek outside of that. Always a cool thing to reach out to different people on LinkedIn, different LinkedIn connections, prior work obligations, kind of, I think it was Leisha who was saying it, different internships, right? Those people who, maybe you've worked with side by side could come in and help and do a professional bit. Financially, hey, there's this group of alumni members, but then we also have our parents and our families saying, hey, this is something I'm a part of and it means a lot to me, and we have this goal and this is what we're trying to do. Can you help contribute? Again, putting a why factor behind everything really helps you get there. That's something we found, right? We couldn't just ask flat out for things like, hey, can you just donate money to us? No, I don't want to donate money, right? But if we told you why, and hey, we're really trying to go to Grand Chapter Congress, this is what it is, this is what we're trying to get to, people feel way more inclined to help. So hopefully that answered your question. Maybe Jasmine or Alicia have a better answer.
I am laughing, kind of smiling, because I always say like ask, right? Like I always tell chapters, I'd be happy to donate to your chapter if you ask, if you had a type of campaign. If you want, I could assist you with that type of campaign and helping you find that resource. Like if you would like to connect and say like, all right, like we're not sure who to connect with on our campus, let's hop on a call. Let's hop on a call with your chapter advisor. Maybe they can also provide you that feedback of, all right, what are the needs from the national organization, but what are the needs from your local institution, and kind of making sure we're on the same page. And I always say like, what are you trying to accomplish, and describing and letting people know like this is what we're trying to accomplish, and making sure you're all on the same page, ensuring that the entire chapter is on the same page, especially as you said that engagement is a little bit lower. All right, the members in our chapter, you said that about 20 brothers graduated. All right, that was half the chapter. Where are the brothers at, and what do they want to accomplish this year? Are we going to be able to provide what they're hoping to gain? And if not, let's ask what they want and be able to provide that.
Oh, how I'm gonna top this? I don't know. Gosh. So like just consider your concern on like small engagement. You guys are coming from smaller chapters. Just think of also long-term effects. Like people join people, as long as you're still representing yourself to the best, putting your best foot forward, people will join you guys and seeing like I said before, the classroom visits. If you go into 5 minutes beginning of class saying, hey, I'm with Delta Pi, we're recruiting, and then showing people, you're the ideal business person, they'll want to join you guys. And then over time, your nose will add back up and stuff like that. It's going to be harder first because, getting numbers, especially after post COVID, it's going to be a challenge, but you guys got this. And so, but as long as you just keep trying every day and just keep being the best you and like representing like you are Delta Pi and like you're representing to the best of your extent, they will want to join and stuff like that. And over time, and as we get back together, great. And I also ask alumni, they were at one point in your shoes of a small chapter, so they understand the struggles of trying to, get back on your feet with resources and stuff like that. So like everyone said before, just ask me. I mean, I put you a couple bucks if I can, but it's gonna be a couple weeks. But yeah, just always ask and just don't be afraid to say, hey, can you donate, please? But yes.
And I think again, it's okay to ask for help. I do believe that was a big thing with my chapter. We thought we needed to solve all the problems of the world that we had going on, right? We were on our own little island, and part of that was our own creation. We created our own little island because we thought, wow, we are going to be really ashamed of, us being small and, maybe not getting as many donations as the large chapters. And man, we're barely getting it together. Like, this is our problem. We need to fix it. But asking people and just saying, hey, if it's one of us, if it's your DD, if it's a trusted faculty advisor that you have on campus, whoever it is, saying, hey, we just really need a point of direction. These are our goals. This is what we want to change. If it's us hopping on a Zoom call and opening up an internet browser and saying, okay, let's find a good, network base to start off with, and let's touch base and see how those went and maybe reevaluate. That's something you can always do. You can't really control where you're at right now, but you can control where you go. And don't feel like it's just you taking on the weight of everything and you make or break the chapter. Again, everybody has a role to play. But fantastic question, Lindsay. Any last minute questions for us on anything? Seeing none. Okay, so Jasmine did put up our last slide, which is our resources. You can find all these on the Delta Sigma Pi website, which is dsp.org. Everything from individual officer pages, detailed examples and descriptions of what needs to happen and what does happen, officer modules, the CMP guide, which is probably my favorite resource. It tells you everything about the CMP, the description of every event you see on there, when it's due, when it's suggested to be due, things you can do, and how to submit it. Every answer, we even look at that document when we are looking at CMP submissions. So very valuable document. Again, kind of what Jasmine was saying, your local national policies and procedures and bylaws, fraternity operations page, and Delta Sig University, where you can view different modules, different examples of things that have gone on or events that have been had, seeing other different facilitated discussions around what you're looking for. If you don't see a resource on here that maybe doesn't fit what you're looking for, reach out. We can find you something, or we'll be that resource to you and answer those questions. With that being said, no further questions. I did want to thank you both for hopping on here. I know it can be kind of daunting when there's two people on here, but thank you for hopping on here, hopefully getting some knowledge and resources from us tonight. Again, reach out to us if you need absolutely anything. And thank you so much and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.